And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
This is your RBLR Rays podcast. I'm your host, Zach Dobb, with my co-host, Pat Davenport. Pat, how's it going, man?
I am doing well. I am doing great, and I'm grateful for all of you for tuning in today. I know why you're here as well. You could have perhaps got a greater financial benefit from going and listening to another podcast, but you came here because you know that here at RBLR, we will develop you into the smartest Rays fans and the best Rays fans that you possibly could be. So you're taking a smaller deal, but you're going to be better in the long run for it. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, you're going to be much better because we have got a lot to talk about today. As Pat is discussing, there's plenty to discuss. Naoyuki Uwasawa is a Ray. We've got thoughts about that. ARB hearings wrapped up. There's some interesting nuggets in between the accounting numbers, and we've got some thoughts on the guys that didn't reach agreements. And if we've got some time towards the end, we're going to talk a little bit about the Yankees being obviously intimidated by our talent acquisition, needing to do some of their own in Marcus Stroman. We've got thoughts about that. If we don't get to it this week, we'll get to it in the future. And if you are here with us, we thank you for being here with us. If you're watching on YouTube, do us a favor, subscribe, hit the like button. It means a lot if you are so inclined to do that while you're down there. If you're on Spotify, follow us, drop a rating, and wherever you're watching from, share us around. We're always glad to have you around. We hope you can continue to be a part of what we're building here at RBLR. We've got some really fun stuff coming up throughout the off season, potentially some game show type things sometime in the future. Who knows? Really fun stuff coming down the road. Continue to be a part of us. Continue to share us around, and thanks for being here. Getting right into it. Naoyuki Uwasawa is a Ray. Pat, what's your first thoughts when you saw the news blip across that he had been signed to a minor league contract?
Oh, I was thrilled. I was also extremely surprised that we saw that Uwasawa signed a minor league deal. There were reports circulating on the kind of deadline of his posting that he had been given a pretty, quite glamorous looking offer from the Angels, who cited, Ohtani and the way that they treated him. And there were other MLB teams in the mix, and he declined the seemingly guaranteed major league deal and money, reportedly anyway, to sign a minor league deal with the Rays, which I think is the first big surprise. It's a 1-year minor league deal, and it's expected to be for about $3.5 million if he is in the major leagues. If not, it's just going to be major league minimum. And I couldn't believe it. But like I alluded to in my kind of opening statement, he turns out to be a pretty smart fella. He said that he wanted to go to the Rays because he believed in their pitching development lab and thought that the best way he could be the best pitcher he possibly can be is to go to the Rays and work with the pitching development crew in Tampa. And wow, finally someone gets it. You know what I mean? Finally someone gets it and goes, hold on, the best way for me to pitch is to go to the Rays, because pitchers going to the Rays usually seems to work out pretty well.
Yeah, it does. And we already knew he was definitely on the, more intellectual and development-minded side. He had spent some time in Driveline in the last offseason, clearly interested in improving himself. When you look at what he has to offer from a pitching perspective, he's a big arsenal guy. He's not a big stuff guy. The fork splitter is definitely a plus pitch from him. But overall, he's not like a huge arsenal or like stuff guy, at least right now. And he's spent a lot of time trying to improve that, but at the moment, he's really an arsenal pitcher. So when you look at what he can offer the Rays, it's very clear that he knew when he's going into looking at the different teams he could go to, he wants to go somewhere that's going to maximize what he's good at. And clearly the Rays are very good at that. We've seen that with guys like, for example, a Ryan Yarbrough type, who are going to come in and, they're not going to throw super, super hard, but they have really good control, command. They've got a couple plus pitches and they're going to make it work. And the Rays got a lot of incredible value out of him. Obviously, we know what we got out of Ryan Yarbrough and what he's been doing since then, which is nothing particularly impressive. The Rays are going to maximize the value that he can offer. And I think he made the 100% right decision. Just a couple quick numbers on him from his most recent season in the Japanese League. 2.96 ERA. He pitched you 170 innings pitched, which is a very important number. 124 strikeouts, 41 walks, 1.135 whip, 2.2 walks per nine, 6.6 Ks per nine. Any of those stats jump out at you?
Yeah, the obvious one is how good his command is. You're right that he won't blow you away with his stuff. He's not going to velo his way out of anything, but he has really good command of the majority of his pitches. He really is good at limiting walks. And I sound like a broken record every time I mention it, but it's the main crux of what the Rays are looking for in their pitches these days is players that can throw strikes, limit free passes, make sure that every runner on base is earned and we're not hurting ourselves in any way. And he continues to kind of fit that mold of command first, figure out the rest later type deal. So the fact that he fits that philosophy is excellent. And then I'm sure the pitching development will figure out the best way to utilize his arsenal with good pitch selection, maybe find some extra movement in his pitches, or maybe realize a grip could be slightly adjusted somewhere, a la drive line. Yeah, he's a really intriguing signing that, you know, while you're a bit worried about like only the small amount of strikeouts in the Japanese league, which is a bit worrying because we're a very strikeout oriented league here in MLB.
Right.
And if you can't blow batters away, that kind of reduces your margin for error. Like if you throw a 99 fastball down the middle, you've got a chance that the hitter won't be ready and not make good contact on that or swing by it. But if it's 90 miles an hour, it's rare that a hitter's going to miss 90 down the middle. So you've got to be good at command in order to make up for your stuff nowadays. So hopefully the command is as good as advertised. And if not, I'm still really, really satisfied because at worst, it's just a guy that's going to chill in the minors and provide a bit of depth, which, you know, we always need. So if that's the worst case scenario, then this is an outstanding signing because the ceiling could be a mid-rotation starter.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to completely gloss over how good he has been in Japan. You know, that 2.2 walks per nine, if you were to rank him among qualified starters from last year, which for those who don't know, qualified starter is somebody who pitches 162 innings. If you were to rank him among the qualified starters, where do you think his walks per nine would rank? Just as a guess.
2.2 is very, very low. Probably somewhere in the top 10. I'll say like 9th.
You're actually basically right on the money. He would rank 10th, right between Aaron Nola and Pablo Lopez for the best for the number 10 best rate in MLB last year. So like let's not you know, a lot of times I think we downplay what players do in other leagues because they're not the same thing as MLB. But command is command no matter where you're commanding it. So there's definitely some value there. And now the question is, will he be able to leverage that command into getting outs and preventing guys from reaching base? That's the question that we'll have to determine because, you know, a well-located pitch in the Japan League might result in a ground ball, but a well-located pitch in MLB can still result in a home run, depending on the quality of the hitter and the quality of the pitch. I was reading an article about pitching earlier this week, and it talked about stuff. And one of the things that the guy who was writing the article, someone at Fangraphs, wrote was stuff buys you margin for error on your pitches. Yeah. So if your stuff is not amazing, your margin for error is less. Now, that being said, who knows what, you know, the Rays are going to do to his arsenal. He's known for throwing like a bunch of pitches. He threw like 7 pitches last year, at least above like 6 or 7%. He threw a whole bunch of pitches last year. I very much doubt he's going to throw that many pitches this year with the Rays. I imagine they're going to look at what his best pitches are and refine them. They may tweak some of those pitches. You know, the fastball is fine. The fork ball is definitely the fun pitch for him. And we'll have to see what he can do with that. The other thing that I want to get your thoughts on is the other big stat that stands out to me, and that's 170 innings pitched in the last couple seasons. If you look back across his statistics over the last couple of years, he is averaging around like 140 innings pitched for the last 3 or 4 years. It's kind of a big deal. There's really just as I was doing that research, because I was just curious where his walks per nine rated in the MLB. As I was looking at qualified starters, just a random curiosity. Any guesses on how many qualified starters we're averaging in baseball over the last 4 years?
Oof, less and less and less. Let's go. I think I remember hearing there was something around 30 qualified, maybe even 20 qualified starters last year.
40 is around the average. It's been the lowest in the last couple of years was 30, I believe in 2022. There was only 30 qualified starting pitchers. So it fluctuates a little bit, but there's really not that many. So to have a guy that at least has a history of doing that is valuable. the odds of him throwing that many innings for the Rays this year are not high, I don't think. But just knowing that there's somebody who has that, because when you look at the Rays rotation right now, I was messing around trying to kind of figure out who would be at the opening day roster. Like, obviously Eflin threw a lot of innings for us last year, but his history has not been throwing a whole lot of innings. He's had some injury trouble. You've got Savali, Littell, Pepio, probably, maybe Boz, maybe Bradley. There's not a lot of inning eating going on there. Maybe Littell can do that for us, but there's not a lot of innings going on there on that rotation. So to just bring in a guy who at least has the ability to do that, I think is really valuable. I don't know how it's going to manifest exactly with the Rays, but I think it's a really valuable trait.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Health is a skill. Health is a skill, particularly amongst pitchers. So I'm excited to see what he brings. If he can stick around in the major league level, that would be amazing. That would be such a great kind of not under the radar, but kind of maybe overlooked signing. When we think about Japanese pitchers that are coming over from the MPB, he was probably like third or fourth on everyone's kind of list,
sure.
right? Because we had Imanaga. Everyone's getting excited about Yamamoto and Sasaki, but Uwasawa is right there. He was one of the better pitchers in the league that year. It's just his stuff isn't quite as, flashy, but he was just as effective, just in a different way. So it's going to be a super fun experiment to see how that plays out. Do you think he is going to be in the rotation come 2024 opening day?
So this is a really good question. I was thinking about this a lot after the signing happened, and I think that the answer is maybe. If I was gonna predict it, I would say no, only because some of the things that we've been hearing about how well that Boz has been performing in his rehab lead me to believe the team has some confidence, and the fact they traded Tyler Glasnow for Pepio leads me to believe that probably he's also going to be in the opening day rotation. So right now, just as a rough projection, I'm imagining it's going to look something like Eflin, Savali, Littell, Pepio, and then Boz. That's my guess for what the opening day rotation is going to be. That being said, could Uwasawa pitch his way into that fifth spot through spring training? And could Boz they maybe see something where it's like, okay, maybe we could give you a little bit more time to cook in AAA? I definitely don't think Bradley's going to be on the opening day rotation, but could maybe they decide Boz needs a little bit of extra time to cook in AAA? I think maybe they could. And I think they would rather throw Uwasawa out there and let him take a couple rough starts than throw Boz out there and let him take a couple rough starts if he's not ready. So I think there is a chance that Uwasawa starts in the starting rotation. I just don't think it's super likely. It is also possible that he starts in the bullpen, because that's something else that's been talked about. I mentioned this when I mentioned, because I think it was the last week I mentioned that one thing, or it was a couple weeks ago, I would really like them to bring in Uwasawa. It's something that I mentioned on the podcast, and I was glad that they actually did what I wanted them to do, which is exciting. But I mentioned that maybe he could be a bullpen piece for us. And the reason why I said that is because I think that his stuff may not play as a starter for a long term in the MLB. I think he has potential, but I don't know that it will. And I think he does have a lot of value potentially coming out of the bullpen as a 3 to 4 inning guy. And could he displace Tyler Alexander potentially? Like, is that possible? I don't know that he will, but it's possible. So I think the odds of him being on the opening day roster are higher than the odds of him being in the opening day rotation, because I think he has more than one role he could play on the team. But as of right now, I'm going to say no, he's not going to be in the opening day rotation.
That's very interesting. I think he will, but I think he will be in that kind of long relief role as opposed to in the rotation. I think he will make the major league roster in a long relief role. And you emphasize this a lot. You love the idea of a kind of a do-over guy, right?
Yes.
Like, starter doesn't have it, throw him out for 2 innings, you go, right, he does not have it today, he's all over the place, or he's getting lit up or whatever. Okay, Uwasawa, we need 4 innings from you, buddy. Let's go. Like, that is a valuable piece to have. And, Tyler Alexander can do that as well. But one's a righty, one's a lefty. So why not have both? So I think it's always useful to have loads of different looks. And Uwasawa is definitely a kind of alternative look to most pitchers in baseball at the moment. And that in itself is useful. We're talking about arm slots. We're talking about the different kind of pitches that he throws. There's so many different pitches that he could throw that hitters will stay off balance if he's throwing them all correctly. So having him on the roster, I think, would be a good thing. But of course, that is dependent on how well he performs this spring. But the battle for that 5th spot in the rotation between Bradley, Bars, and Uwasawa is definitely going to be a fun one to watch. Could the Rays implement a 6-man rotation to ease the workload on, what is a depleted rotation and make sure that they get that extra day's rest every time through to make sure that maybe that would, cause less injuries, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could turn out that way. It's interesting to look at the opening day roster right now because you've kind of got a logjam a little bit. I think in the bullpen, you've got guys like Fairbanks, Adam, Clevenger, Poche, Armstrong, and Kelly that I think are locks. And then if you do that, like you're already starting to run out of spots. Like then you got Davinsky, who they re-signed, so it makes you think they see some value in him.
Major league deal there too.
Yeah, so it's like, what do they do with Davinsky? Like, there's a lot of intrigue and there's a lot to break down, and I think we'll be able to break it down a little bit more as we get closer to spring training. But like I've been saying this in our group chat for a couple weeks now, I think this spring training is going to be fascinating for a lot of reasons. Offensively, in the bullpen, there's some really interesting stuff. Now I will say, just to close up this segment of it, he is most definitely going to get added to the major league roster at some point. Like there definitely was some sort of handshake deal that, hey, once we get some of these guys on IL, like Shane and some other guy like Springs, and we got them on IL, we're going to add you to the 40-man. I very much believe that's what's going to happen. 100%. The interesting thing then is going to be how soon do we see him at the Trop? I think we'll probably see him, if not in the first weeks, very soon after that. I would like to see him opening day because I think if you see him opening day, if you're seeing him on the roster that soon, it means that the Rays have already started to unlock some cool stuff or they see some really cool stuff there. So that would be a good thing. If he needs some time to cook in AAA, I'm sure they'll give him that time that he needs. But all in all, I'm really excited about this signing. I think it's a big win for the Rays. It addresses an area that I thought was an area of need. I've said this a couple times in the group chat and on the pod. Is that I think the bullpen is an area of need for this team. I think they need to add something there, and that's what they did because this is if he doesn't start. He reinforces the bullpen. If he starts, somebody else now has the ability to rest that will then influence the bullpen in a positive way because the arms are not needing to be used. So there's because if you don't have Uwasawa and Bradley's out there and he's struggling, you got to use the bullpen. There's a lot of like trickle down effects to bringing in someone like him, and I think it's a big win for the Rays. I don't know that we're gonna see like middle upper end of the rotation value from him, but I think the value he adds in being on the team and being able to soak up some innings with potential to maybe bring some high value is just a really cool thing to add to this roster, and I'm just really excited about it.
Yeah, can't have too many arms. And like you said, worst case scenario is that we've got a guy in the minors making major league minimum, eating some innings down in Durham. Like, there's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal in my eyes, because if it goes wrong, well, then they're gone next year. So, yeah, my last thing on Uwasawa is, how did they get him on a minor league deal? I think there's probably some kind of gentleman's agreement that's not in writing about like, hey, you're not going to be on the 40-man straight away, but as soon as spring opens and then we put Springs, Rasmussen, McClanahan all on the 60-day IL and the 40-man spots open, you're going straight on. I think that's probably not in writing, but it's probably like a kind of handshake agreement that's probably going to be the case. But mainly because he believes in the pitching development core, which is, such a testament to the Rays and the reputation they've developed within baseball amongst players and just front offices and agents, even, that if you're a pitcher that wants to get better, come to Tampa Bay.
Yeah. And I mean, what better way to express that but from the mouth of a Rays pitcher that we just heard over this weekend? Tyler Glasnow did an interview with the Chris Rose rotation, which I'm not a huge fan of everything that Talking Baseball and those guys do, but I love the Chris Rose rotation. I love listening to the interviews with the pitchers. It's really, really cool. And Tyler's on there a lot. Makes me sad. It made me sad to hear him like see his name up there and have Dodgers under instead of Rays. Made me sad. But the stuff that he said about the way that him leaving affected him, and the fact that he was willing, and not only willing, but wanted to go after he got traded and go hang out with Eric Neander and have a beer with him and just sort of chill out and roll and be in his backyard and just kind of, have a moment there with the GM that just traded him is a bigger testament to the Rays culture than I think you could ever put in writing or ever put in an opinion piece. Like that's it right there. The guy who was a big part of your organization was your players rep. You traded him. Most guys would feel some type of way about that. But because of the way that the Rays have treated Tyler Glasnow, because of the way they took care of him by trading him to a team that's going to take care of him, they gave him a big extension and is an organization like-minded with the Rays and he knows that he's going to be treated well, that's how you build an organization where people want to come play for you. Because they know that even if they leave the organization, they're going to either leave it better than they got there at, or they're going to be traded to a organization that they feel that the Rays feel is a good fit for them. Like, and not 100% of the time, like sometimes they're going to make just the best move for the Rays, but with they do look out for their guys. And I think that is such a testament to how great the Rays organization is. And it was just really cool to see one of their most notable players or one of their most notable former players come out and say something like that and give such a ringing endorsement of what the Rays do.
And that's why the Rays are sick. That's what he said. The Rays are sick. And, I agree. You don't need, we don't need to add to that. You probably know our opinion on the Rays. But yeah, he's, it made me a bit sad at him just talking about how great the Rays are. Because now I'm like, now you're leaving.
I know.
But what an endorsement. And he won't be the first pitcher to have felt that way. He's probably just the first to be on a high profile podcast to say it. So big ups to Tyler Glasnow, big ups to the Rays organization. He also mentioned that the hardest goodbyes were to the likes of Kyle Snyder.
Yeah.
So, it's not just the GM, but also the way that the pitching development staff help their guys and really are dedicated to their players and helping them be as good as they can be, not just performance-wise, but mentally and physically, and just comfortable enough to be themselves, both as a player but as a human being as well, which you cannot discount, because if you're comfortable in your environment, you will perform better just like that. You just need to be in a place where you feel like comfortable. Your mindset will get so much better.
Yeah, and I mean, maximizing performance is a really important part of really everyone's life. If you're out there kind of feeling like you need to maximize your performance in all aspects of your life, you're trying to maximize performance of your your job, your work-life balance. You also need to maximize your wardrobe. And if you need to get the best performance out of your wardrobe, then you need to go to shop.rblrsports.com, where you will get 10% off everything with promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY. Talk about optimizing. You're going to optimize how much you're going to pay for optimizing your wardrobe. I mean, come on. Like, it's so clear. I mean, it's a ringing endorsement. Shop.rblrsports.com is sick. Like, just go there. You will get good stuff. You will feel more optimized in your wardrobe when you are done. It is the place to be to get the best Tampa Bay Rays and Tampa sports merch out there. Shop.rblrsports.com. Promo code FLAPPY, FLAPPY, to get 10% off everything.
Yeah, and if you go there, there'll be no need to exchange figures. You'll know the price is right.
Oh yeah. 100% of the time.
Speaking of exchanging figures, the Rays arbitration deadline came up this week, and they had 10 players that were up for arbitration, and they managed to agree to terms with 8 of the 10. So Sean Armstrong, Aaron Savali, Zach Littell, Drew Rasmussen, Shane McClanahan, Colin Poche, Randy Arozarena, and Isaac Paredes all agreed to 1-year deals to avoid arbitration. Well, actually, one of those didn't agree to a 1-year deal. They agreed to a 2-year deal. We'll get to that in a moment. And that means only 2 players are going to go to arbitration, and they will go to arbitration because the Rays are one of the teams that operate where if you don't agree to a contract by the deadline, you will go to a hearing. There's no midnight hour, last-minute deals just before you go in the room with the Rays. They are an organization that I'll go, if you don't make the deadline, we're going to ARB. That's how it's going to work. And those 2 players are Jason Adam and Harold Ramirez. It's a better success rate than last year. Last year, they had 14 arbitration eligibles, and they only managed to come to terms with 7 of them. So they boosted from 50% to 80% success rate. So that's good. There was a long period of time where they didn't go to ARB. They had like a 4-year stretch where they managed to agree with all their ARB players before the deadline. And that started to go a little by the wayside. But do you think there's much to glean from Adam and Harold going to ARB?
No, I never like arbitration type stuff. It just kind of, I just don't like it. This is why I'm not a baseball executive. I would not be good at it. I'd just be like, yeah, let's just give you the money. Because I don't care. Like, I was like, yeah, just give him the money. Obviously you're really good. But that's not how it works. One of the things we were talking about this in our group chat is that if we pay Jason Adam what he asks for today, then he has a really good season. It raises the value of the deal next year. And it could be that the Rays are willing to pay him what he is, what that amount is. And I think they probably are. But what they may not be willing to do is to pay him what he is worth next year. If he then performs well again in that next arbitration, maybe they're not willing to go that route. Personally, I'm willing to go, but I think he's worth both numbers, whatever that may be. If it's like $5+ million type, number next year, I think he's worth both years. That being said, I don't know what the Rays know about, his health, what else they may be looking at. I think he's performed really, really well. I hope that they end up coming to something, reasonable. And that I hope he wins the hearing. I always hope the player wins the hearing personally, is to ask for something unreasonable. I think both of the numbers that Harold and Adam are asking for are reasonable numbers. I do wonder if the arb hearing between Harold and the Rays is a herald of potentially a move coming sometime in the future, where they're not really wanting to pay him because they probably are going to move on from him. I don't know if that's the case. We'll have to see. But that did give me some cause to pause when I saw that. It made me think, well, maybe this is kind of the sign that, it is going to be the end of the road for Harold Ramirez in short order.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's so weird, arbitration, especially early arbitration guys that aren't like superstars, like Juan Soto or something like that. Like, I think there's like $300K difference between what the Rays are offering and what Adam wants. It's like, just can you not just like meet in the middle and call it a day, or just pay $300K? That's less than a major league player minimum extra, you know what I mean? Yep. So it's just pay the guy. Same with Harold. I think it's like $500,000 between the two, which is pretty negligible in baseball money terms, especially when the Rays have such a low operating payroll anyway. But yeah, I think the only thing that kind of raised my eyebrows is the second year in a row that Adam and Ramirez have went to the arbitration meetings, and from what I've heard, they're not fun. It's where the Rays kind of have to make their case for why they are not worth money, which is like such a backwards operation, where they go, actually, we think you suck, actually, which is like not what the Rays probably feel, but they've got to do it so that the arbiters rule in their favor. It's like a really weird system where you want to avoid it really at all costs. I mean, there have been reports over the past week or so, especially since the kind of couple of trades that happened last week, especially acquiring Richie Palacios, is Harold Ramirez's days as a Ray numbered. Is they going to open up the kind of DH spot to the likes of Meade, Caminero, Palacios, those kind of players? Maybe they are apparently actively shopping him, but again, I think a deal for Harold might not materialize straight away, just because I think he's a hard one to evaluate as a player. Like, he's been a good hitter, but even though we've not thought that he was going to be every time, so it's like, I don't know what to feel about Harold. I don't even know what a return would look like for Harold. I don't know what we would expect, because he has been a good hitter for the past 2 years, if not a great fielder. So I don't know. That's got to be worth something. But like, also, like, you keep looking at him and you go, this shouldn't be working. How is this working for so long? So it's an interesting case. I think Harold probably won't be on the team by opening day. It might even be one of those like Austin Meadows spring training type trades where it happens early in spring or mid-spring, but it's hard to say. He's such an enigma that I can't speculate any more than that. But do you think Jason Adams definitely a lock for the team next year and there's no speculation there?
Oh, I think so. I don't think there's any speculation. I don't think so. I think he will 100% be on the team next year. I guess it's possible they could trade him, but I wouldn't. Like, I
wouldn't either.
I think that would be a mistake. Because if you look at the way the bullpen breaks down, if you trade Jason Adam, who is your closer if Fairbanks is injured? I guess maybe it's Clevenger, but he just got off of being injured. So then, I feel like it's a dangerous thing if you have your top 3 bullpen guys all have injury, history. So then you're talking about, if you trade Adam and Fairbanks has any issues and Clevenger has any issues, now Colin Poche is your closer, who, while I like Colin Poche a lot, I think he's really, really good and underrated. I don't know that I want him as my closer. I don't know that that's a good decision for anybody. So I think I would not be interested in moving on from Jason Adam. No.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just putting it out there just in case for any people with tinfoil hats out there in the audience that go, But yeah, the only other arbitration news is that Shane McClanahan did not sign a 1-year deal to avoid ARB. He signed a 2-year deal. And the kind of interesting tidbit for that was we were expecting him to miss all of 2024 as he recovers from Tommy John surgery, expecting to return hopefully for spring training 2025. But there's a incentive in his 2-year deal that he could earn a lot of money per start in 2024.
Yeah.
What does this tell us?
I mean, I think it tells us that the Rays, number one, think that he has the potential to come back this year. And I think the Rays are saying we would like you to, and we are willing to incentivize you to do so if you're willing to attack your rehab. Because I think there is a world where Shane could just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of, I'll rehab. And because I don't know what Shane's motor is as far as like his desire to get back into play. I have no idea. I usually tend to believe that most guys are just going to want to get back to play. That's what I think 99% of the time. But I think this removes all doubt that they think he's got a high motor, and they just wanted to incentivize that, to say, yeah, not only do we think you can do it, but we want you to do it, and we want to incentivize you to do it. Which, again, I was in the same boat as you. I just assumed we weren't seeing him until 2025. But now you're looking at a potential to have Shane McClanahan back sometime late in 2024. I would be all here for that, 100%.
Yeah, really great news if that does come to pass. I remember there was a time where they thought Tyler Glasnow could come back from his injury a bit quicker than scheduled back when he was hurt in 2021. So maybe there's the Rays are working on something in the lab that means that you can recover from elbow surgery a little bit quicker, or they've got a new rehab process that can test players sooner. I think what's particularly interesting is that the incentive isn't in innings or games appeared in, it's in starts. If he's coming back, he is starting baseball games. They're not going to bring him back to be David Price in the 08 postseason. They're bringing him back to be a starter. So they think he can not only come back, but come back and pitch, 3, 5, 6 innings of baseball. They'll probably ramp up to that. But, if 5 innings from Shane McClanahan this year is way more than I expected at all. So like that, this can only be good news because it means they feel positive about McClanahan's recovery thus far, and that it is a possibility that he can return in 2024. I guess all we could do is watch and wait on that. But wow, I think this is fantastic news, and something to really keep an eye on, especially once we get past the All-Star break.
Yeah, and I think that part of it definitely with him putting those starts in there. I think we have already seen Shane coming out of the bullpen in the 2020 postseason. That did not go well. It was not a good scenario. It did not go well. So maybe they're like, yeah, clearly this is not for you. We're going to make it a starts thing. And I think that the other thing that they could look at too is, what if he's like a three inning guy, where they're going to send him once through the order or something? Like, could you imagine going once through the order against Shane McClanahan, giving everything he's got out there, and then you got to deal with Uwasawa for like 3 or 4 innings, and then you deal with the back end of the Rays bullpen. That's a nightmare for a hitter, because you're going to go from a plus stuff, high octane guy, then you're going to go to a finesse, control pitcher, and then you're going to get all the complete nonsense coming out of the Rays bullpen. Like that's a nightmare scenario for a hitter to have to face, and I would love it. I would be here for all of it. Like, I think that's a really fun, especially for the postseason, that is a dangerous game like you could play say, to put out in front of a hitter is to have to deal with all that. Like that's 100% going to get in the hitter's head, and I think it would be a great battle plan to attack hitters. So if that's what we're going to get, I would be stoked for that. Now and I would be over the moon if he's actually starting games for longer than 3 innings. If he's actually putting out 5-inning starts, I would be over the moon for that. I don't know that we're necessarily going to see that, but I would 100% see some kind of piggyback start where he goes 2-3 innings type of thing, and then you get someone like Uwasawa or Littell or maybe Drew if he's back and healthy, or Springs if he's back and healthy, whatever that looks like. I think the idea that Shane could be back and be a part of the postseason rotation it just shows to me that if the Rays, more than any other year, just make the playoffs, just get in there. Because if you get in there, you're going to have a nasty pitching, clump of pitchers. You're going to have a great core of offense. Just bubble wrap everybody and get in the postseason. Because if you get to the dance, this team is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. While you were saying all of that, for anyone watching on YouTube, if you aren't watching on YouTube, you should, by the way, as well as audio. I had a huge grin on my face during all of that, because just the idea of ending 2024 with the playoff rotation of Eflin, Springs, McClanahan, Rasmussen all ready to go. Oh my gosh. And then who knows, Savali might turn good, or Uwasawa might turn better, or Littell could still be a really dangerous weapon. Bradley or Bars could make that next step. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I've got so many pitches and we've got all of them ready to go. And let's assume 1 or 2 of them get hurt down the road, or the recovery doesn't go as fast as planned. You've still got more than a rotation there. So the weapons are getting loaded up. We're like you said, let's just get to the postseason, hopefully. And oh my gosh, so exciting times in terms of the pitching plan, and news that went, I think, under the radar for a lot of Rays fans this week that you should get really excited about.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that when you look at even beyond this year, when you look at 2025, because if Shane's coming back and pitching in 2024, I mean, if you dare to look at what the 2025 Rays team could look like, that is whatever. I don't know. I still haven't fully formulated my thoughts on what the ceiling of this year's team is. But the ceiling of that 2025 team, with all these players we're talking about, another year of experience, Zach Eflin's still under contract in 2025. I mean, the ceiling of that team with all those guys back healthy is out of this world insane. Plus whatever additions they may make and whatever guys develop, that is a truly dangerous team. That team in 2025. So there's just those little things like that give me a lot of hope for not only what this team could do down the road this season, but also what we could see from them in 2025.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, but while McClanahan, Springs, and Rasmussen and Eflin were all healthy in 2023, they were undefeated.
Look at that.
No losses, not a singular loss.
Look at that.
Feels like so long ago. Okay. One last bit of Rays news that's coming up this week is that the international signing period is about to open, and let's be honest, nobody plays this by the rules. They have already agreed to terms with a bunch of players. They're just waiting to announce them. But it's really weird that most of the time, these players from the Dominican and Cuba and the other places like that, they've agreed to a team when they were 14 years old. And now they're just waiting to reach 16 or 18 for the contracts to become official, basically, because these scouts are there straight away. And, there's broader ethical discussion to have about that maybe sometime down the line. But essentially, the good news for us who report the news is we can kind of say who's likely to sign with the Rays in the next week in the international signing window. The highest prospect that the Rays are expected to sign is ranked by Baseball America at number 21 out of the 100 best international prospects. And that is an outfielder called Leonardo Pineda. He's not a right-handed hitting outfielder out of the Dominican. He's 6 foot, weighs 170 pounds. He seems pretty good. He's got good bat speed. He can pull well for power. he's kind of like a so-so defender that is playing center field right now, but will likely shift to a corner. He's kind of a major league average runner. So there's some offensive upside there, but it's kind of just like a solid all-rounder, if not spectacular at anything type guy. So keep an eye on him. Born in 2007. If you want to feel old, just listen to that number. And then also they're also tied to the number 50 prospect as well, which is Venezuelan shortstop Angel Brocchi, also born in 2007, right-handed hitter, 5'10", 160 pounds. Again, sound fundamentals, really good, pretty good fielder. Probably could project as a shortstop, but not super fast, kind of average, but solid hitter. Again, like the Rays this year are going for guys that are like solid all around, don't really have a breakout tool. So those are the two kind of main ones. They're also thinking about number 96 prospect Dennis Gonzalez as well, who's a catcher. But yeah, for now, it's too soon to tell. These guys are all 16, 17. They're all going to start down right in the developmental leagues, way down there. And we're not going to hear them for a while. But just so you know, those are some people that are going to be added to the org probably in the next week or so.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see these younger guys that we really don't know much about, seeing them become part of the organization, seeing what the Rays can do with them. I'm sure we'll hear more about them some point in the future. But yeah, right now there's really not a whole lot of analysis to do on these young guys. But who knows? Maybe one day we'll know their name a little bit more one day down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have anything else that you would like to talk about? Maybe a signing?
We could. Well, let's touch really briefly on Marcus Stroman signing with the Yankees. That he signed to I believe it was a 2-year, $37 million contract with the Yankees. They need some pitching help. Their rotation is bad, and it is still not good, but it is now less bad because I do like Marcus Stroman. He slots in probably as their number 2 starter, especially because maybe you rate Rodon above Stroman because he's supposed to be really good. He was so bad last year. Hopefully, I can't imagine he's going to be worse than he was last year. That was hard to watch. Surely not. So maybe he is like the 3rd starter there. Still not great. I've never been impressed with Nestor Cortez, and someone called Clark Schmidt is their 5th starter. Never been impressed with him either. So I'm never impressed. I've been really unimpressed with the Yankees moves this offseason, other than obviously Soto was really, really good. So that was a big move, but that's kind of it. They haven't really done much else. And there's a lot wrong with that organization, and Soto is not going to fix all of it. So Stroman definitely helps them. One little nugget that I wanted to throw out there just to dunk on the Yankees, as I love to do. If you compare the value of Marcus Stroman's deal to the value of just Zach Eflin's deal, the most recent free agent, big signing for the Rays, the Stroman is being paid $6.8 million per win above replacement. That's the 18.5 AAV against a little over a 2 WAR for Stroman last year. By comparison, Eflin, who is making 13.3 AAV, he is netting the Rays. He is costing the Rays $2.77 million per win above replacement. So that's almost a 3 times difference because Eflin was responsible for 4.8 wins above replacement per Fangraphs in this last year. So the Rays are always going to stay being better than the Yankees in every way, and they're definitely going to be better at getting the most value out of their players. I hope that Stroman has a good year because I like him. I like the way he pitches. He's a fun pitcher. But if the Rays are responsible for some of his bad starts, I would not be against that either.
Yeah. Agree with everything that you just said. The Yankees, I like the Verdugo move as well, but Stroman was really good at the start of last season with the Cubs. And then started to get hurt a bit and slowed down on the back of that. Really good at inducing ground balls. Can get a fair bit of soft contact, or at least not barreled up contact.
To the great Yankees defense, yeah. That'll be
yeah. The Yankees infield, what we got? Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, who's that shortstop guy they have again?
You talk about Peraza? Volpe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rizzo's a good defender when he's not hurt.
Mm-hmm. He is a good defender when he's not hurt. And I mean, Torres is fine. I'm being a little mean. Volpe's pretty good. Their outfield defense is bad, and it's going to still be bad.
Judging center is definitely a decision that they're making.
It is a choice that they have made. And yeah, the Yankee. I say this all the time, and I keep saying it until I can't say it no more. Just if you ever want to feel grateful for how great the Rays roster construction is, just go take a look around the roster construction of some of the other teams in the AL East. It's so clear that the Rays have such a fundamental understanding of what you need to put together to have a successful team and all the roles that you need to have people in to be a successful team. And it leads you to question if people in other organizations have that knowledge, or at least, they believe that the talent they have is going to overcome their roster construction. And we have seen how well that's worked out for the Blue Jays, haven't we? And I think it's going to continue to work out that way. So roster construction matters, people. It matters a lot.
Yeah, and it doesn't always mean like sign the big name. It sometimes means figure out where your weakness is and figure out the best way to address it. But that's usually not one player. You're not usually like, oh, we're a second baseman away from winning the World Series. It's not that simple.
Usually
so that's why it pays to have versatility. It pays to have players that are consistent, that have good swing decision mindset. I think that is something that will always translate. If you've got players that are disciplined and make the right swing decisions, then even when they go through slumps, as long as their process is correct, then they'll come good quicker than players that are a bit more strikeout prone, perhaps. Not necessarily strikeout prone, but chase prone, like a Javi Baez, for example.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what the Rays like to value, I think, is swing decisions and in pitches command, because those are the things that kind of work well anywhere, and they're the process part of it, and then the results kind of can vary because baseball's a volatile sport. So, yeah, I mean, just keep it. And also, if the Orioles want to continue to do nothing, I would love that.
That'd be great.
Just keep doing nothing. Your rotation's fine. You don't need to address it. Just leave it alone. Keep Kyle Bradish as your opening day starter. I'm sure that will be great.
That'll be fantastic. And like nothing, not Snell, not Montgomery. There's no buzzer on the Orioles making any moves. That's crazy to me. I don't
next week. They'll trade for Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, and sign Blake Snell next week, and
that would make me very upset. That would make me very upset. But I just don't get it. I don't get what the Orioles are doing. Anyway, that's topic for another show. But as for this show, thank you for joining us, everyone. Continue to support us. We really appreciate all the support you guys give us. Like and subscribe if you're here on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, drop us a rating, drop us a follow, and wherever you're watching us, please do share us out to all your friends. If you've got people that are interested in the Rays or interested in baseball and just want to listen to a cool podcast, we're definitely going to be a good choice for them. So just continue to share us. We appreciate all you guys are doing to help us continue to grow, and we're excited to keep bringing you the best Rays content out there, and we'll do that all throughout the off season. And for now, Rays up.
The countdown is on. 6 weeks till spring training.
Yay! Rays up.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.